Hey everyone, it's Kaycienikole, and today we're going to go through a practice that is going to focus on stretching and opening and getting a really nice deep release into our hips. All the different ways that our hips can move, we're going to find that movement and we're going to drop into a bit of stillness to help everything release and relax. I do have 2 blocks and I'd recommend having both of them available for practice today. We're going to jump right on in. So let's take 1 block with us all the way down onto our backs. And as you come onto your back, we're going to take the block at either its lowest setting, so it's nice and flat, or its mid setting, so it's a little bit higher, but still nice and stable. We're going to lift the hips and slide the block underneath the sacrum, that flat surface on the back of your pelvis, right below the lower back and above the glutes. Make sure it's nice and stable and grounded because we will be moving and adjusting and shifting around in this position. So first, just let yourself relax. And what we're going to do is we're loosening up through the hips and we're loosening up into the lower back to create more space. So we're just going to take a few grounding breaths in this position to let things melt open, and then we'll start playing with different movements. So from here, just scan over your body. Recognize how you feel at this very moment. And we're going to help to pull back some of those layers of tension and distraction that are keeping us from being fully present and in our body's sensations. So let's exhale and just empty out your lungs. Slow breath through the nose. Fill up into the belly. Open up into your rib cage. All the way up into your chest and upper back. And as you feel this broadening through the body, hold here. And then open up your mouth and let it go. Again, slow inhale. Fill up from the bottom to the top. Gradually expanding. Holding here briefly. And then open up the mouth and release. Now 1 more, but we're going to keep the breath through the nose. Slow inhale. And then through the nose, slow exhale. Continue taking deepened breaths, but just soften back a little bit so it doesn't feel so efforted. It feels a little more relaxed, yet full and expansive. You can open up the eyes here if you'd like. And we're going to slowly start to lift the right knee, pulling it in towards the chest. Use your hands to draw it in. Now, as you draw the knee in, find that point, that edge, and then just hold it. Then you're going to take your left leg and slowly start to walk it forward, stretching it as long as you can. Maybe the knee stays bent, that's okay. Maybe the leg fully straightens. Maybe the heel stays on the ground. Or maybe you're pulling in so much, that knee to chest, that your left foot actually hovers off the ground. Now, when my foot hovers, this requires 0 muscular activation. This is just like a teeter-totter. I'm pulling my knee closer to my chest, which is taking weight out of my extended leg. And as I take the weight out, I'm taking it out so much that my foot now hovers off the ground, which creates a nice bowing over the front of my left hip, which is going to help open up into the hip flexors, even down into your quad and into your abdomen. So let's take a couple more deep breaths here. And just let that melting sensation trickle over the top of the hip and down. Nice expansive breath. The breath will help you to understand where your body's edges are. One more deep breath in. And on your next exhale, slowly release. Let the left foot touch down to the ground, and then let your right foot touch to the ground. Bend both of the knees, walk the feet in, and just take a moment to pause and observe the differences in your sides. And we're going to bring that balance in. So now this time, lift the left knee towards the chest. Use your hands to pull it in. And once you feel that you've kind of pulled in as much as you can, keep it here. Right foot starts to walk out in front of you, extending the leg as much as possible. Maybe the knee is bent, maybe it fully straightens. And then the more you pull the knee to your chest, the more weight that comes off of your bottom leg. It can stay on the ground, or you can catch a little bit of air. Gauge it for yourself. It's okay if the foot's on the ground. It really does not require the foot having to lift to feel the stretch. As long as you feel it, stay there. Maybe close your eyes. Even though you're using the arms to pull in, can you soften your shoulders, soften the upper body, even just a little tiny bit? And then let yourself melt. Create as much relaxation as you possibly can, holding this shape and focusing on the rhythm of your breath. Slow, steady, and expansive. Few more from this position. Right now, we're getting all across the front of the hips. And then slowly release. Let both feet come to the ground. Bend the knees, walk the feet in. And then we're going to lift the hips off the block. Remove it from underneath you. You can set it off to the side for now. We'll use it again. And then let the hips melt back down to the ground. Take a moment and just observe the balance that you've now created between left and right side. Maybe windshield wiper your knees a little bit. Okay, now we're going to come into a more passive position. Walk the feet together and then let the knees open up wide. Soles of the feet are touching. Knees are open out to the sides. If this is too much pressure on your knees or on your hips at any point, you can either create little fists with your hands and wedge them into the hip crease, right where it meets with your upper thighs, or you can take both of your blocks and wedge them underneath your thighs for a little added lift and support. But if you can, just let yourself hang out with gravity and let gravity slowly start to open across the front of the hips and the groin. You can slide your heels closer to the hips, or you can even push them out a little farther away. I want you to find the right sensation that meets you where you are. Give yourself about 5 slow breaths and let gravity do its work. So it might feel very passive. We will deepen this. Now, if your legs are just incredibly creaky from this position and you need to bend the knees and just set the feet flat on the ground with the knees pointing up, you can do that instead. Okay, that's an option. Otherwise, you can keep the legs here, lift the right knee, and pull it in towards your chest. So once again, left leg either stays in butterfly or you can just set the foot on the ground, knee pointing up. Okay. Half butterfly is going to increase a little bit more of the opening into the hip if your body likes that. So the knee that you're pulling towards your chest, continue to draw it in. This might be where you want to stay. If you want a little more, take the knee and imagine pulling it towards your right armpit. So now you're going to the side of the body a little bit and having a little more space to draw in. Now you can stay here. I'll give you one more step, which is called half happy baby. Right hand reaches through the inside of the leg, and you can either grab a hold of the foot, the ankle, the shin, or you can even just hold the back of the thigh. Try to get the sole of the foot to angle towards the ceiling. That's going to help the angle of the hip. And then feel the knee just melting towards the ground right beside you. Make sure the hips stay grounded here. You can close your eyes And just give yourself 3 or 4 slow, deepened breaths. We're getting a lot of opening here. We're getting inner hip and groin especially. One more breath. And then you're going to bend the right knee, release the foot or knee down, and take it back into a half butterfly, or take it back down to the floor, soles of the feet down, knees pointing up, depending on the variation that you're taking. We're going to switch right into the other side. So now left knee lifts up and in towards the chest. Use your hands to pull it in. Right leg stays in the variation of your choosing. Remember that our sides might ask for something a little different. Now, as you pull the knee to the chest, stay here. Maybe open it towards your left armpit. If you want to go a little deeper, maybe work into that half happy baby. Left hand through the inside of the leg, grabbing the foot or anywhere along the leg. Sole of the foot faces towards the ceiling and the knee bends towards the floor. Relax your eyes into the sockets. Try to soften your shoulders and your neck. And give yourself 4 slow breaths. One more breath here. Bend the left knee, release the foot to the ground. Let's lift both knees towards each other, separate the feet a little bit, and just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Let's take the arms out from the shoulders. Separate the feet the width of the mat as they rock side to side. And then next time your knees drop to the left side, they'll be kind of staggered. Keep them here, maybe left foot on top of the right thigh or right knee, and just let it sink in. We're creating external rotation, internal rotation on our hips, our thighs, and we're also getting a nice lifting and broadening into our lower back on that right side. Let's take one more breath. If the foot's on top, bring it back down. Swivel the knees to center. Keep the feet the width of the mat and just let them fall to the right side. If it feels good, maybe place the right foot on top of the left knee or thigh. And just let it sink in, filling the opening in the hips and the opening into the lower back. A few more breaths. Set the foot down, swivel the knees back to center, and then hug them into your chest. Feel free to move however you will for a few breaths. If you want to release and kind of shake them out, you can do that. If you want to just hug them in, you can. If you want to find stillness, you can. The options are yours. We are done on our backs. So when you're ready, we're going to come up to a seated position. You can roll over to a side and press up, or rock and roll your way all the way up into your seat. Now, once you're seated, we're going to take the right leg in front and we're going to bend the left knee off to the side of us. We're going to set up for what's called 90-90 position. So if geometry was not your thing, it's okay. We're going to work with what we got here, okay? You're going to line up your front leg, your right leg. Try to get your shin to run parallel with the front of your mat. And that's going to create a 90-degree angle in your front knee. Okay, so if your foot is angled in too much, yeah, it's no longer parallel. You have to bring the foot forward and try to line up your thigh with the edge of your mat. 90-degree angle. Okay, 90 degrees is literally the degree of the edges or the corners of your mat. We're trying to create those same lines. Now, your back leg, we want it to also create a 90-degree angle. So try to get your shin to be parallel with the side of the mat and try to have your thigh parallel with your front shin, which is front of your mat. So 90-90 sit. That's why it has the name that it does. We're going to get into our outer hips, but we're also going to feel some internal rotation from this position. So from here, frame over your right leg and then slowly start to tip your weight over the right leg. You can stay on your hands. You can walk them forward. Have both of your blocks available just in case. You can lower forearms down to your blocks, forearms down to the ground, or melting your chest towards the ground. Take it to your appropriate depth. We're going to be here about 6 slow breaths. Try to relax the upper body as best as possible. Maybe that means bringing extra support in with your blocks or stacking your hands for your forehead. Only you know how to accommodate your body. So just listen, slow your breath, and try to relax. Slowly walk back up onto the hands, but keep your hands slightly forward in front of you. Long spine. And then keeping the spine long, we're going to press into the back knee and try to lift through the foot as though you're trying to lift the pinky edge towards the ceiling. Even if the foot doesn't lift off the ground, I want you to imagine it is. If you need to come more forward to do so, you can as well. Lifting, and now we're strengthening for the internal rotation. 3, breathe. 2, 1, and then go ahead and release it all the way down. And then from here, we can pull the right foot in closer, lean back into the hip, and swing the leg around. You can extend both legs long and just give them a good little shake out. Okay, same thing, but on the other side now. I like to kind of line up on the left side of my mat if I'm going to do my left side, right side of the mat for my right side. So as I'm on the left side of the mat, I'm going to bend my left knee and then sweep my right leg to the right side. Now take a moment to set up your angles, 90 and 90. Shin, front of the mat. Thigh, side of the mat. Now the leg out to the side, shin, parallel with the side of the mat. Thigh, parallel with the front calf or shin bone. 90, 90. Flex into your ankles, spine up nice and tall, framing over your front leg, and then slowly fold over the left leg. Remember, your right side and left side are just siblings, not identical twins. They don't always want the exact same thing. They don't always look the exact same way. So we don't have to force them to do the exact same thing. I want you to be easy on your body and find that threshold and find the edge and honor that edge, even if it's not the same, even if we have one good side and one side that is a little bit more problematic. Learn to slow down and be more patient, relax into it, and allow there to be natural imbalances because that's life. Give yourself about 5 or 6 slow breaths. Support your upper body as best as possible. Try to relax and let go. One more breath here. And then start to walk back up onto your hands, keeping them in front of you. Remember, you can come as far forward as you need to. Back foot. We're going to lift through the pinky edge, trying to lift it up and hold here for 3. Breathe. 2, 1, and then release. That one can be pretty challenging, so don't worry. If it feels tight, you're not alone. You're going to pull the left foot in a little bit closer as you lean up and back. Sweep the right leg around. Let's go ahead and shake out those legs. Okay, from here, we're going to come into a tabletop position. I'm going to start with the left side. Actually, I'll turn and then I'll start with the right side. I just want you guys to have a good visual. But make sure your blocks are nearby. And what we're going to do is we're going to step the right foot to the right and then just walk it around to the front. We just want to come into a low lunge position. Now, from this low lunge, we will be working towards splits. Now, you don't have to be able to do splits to practice splits. That's any version is the splits. We're working the same muscle groups. So don't worry about how deeply you go in, working on the integrity of the position instead. So let's grab our blocks, take them to either side of us, and then pull the hips back until we can walk the front foot forward a little bit and straighten out that front right leg. Now with the hips stacked over the back knee, front leg is straight and hips are squared. So that means both hip points are pointing forward towards the front of the mat, not to the side. Now from here, you can stay. This is half split. Stay here and fold over. Perfectly fine. Otherwise, wiggle the front foot forward, sliding into your depth of this position while keeping your hips squared. Don't let that back hip start to open out to the side. Left hip pulls forward, right hip pulls back. My right side and left side are very different. If you're pretty close to the ground, you might be able to wedge a block right underneath the right hip and to sink into it, but just make sure you can still feel sensation, that you haven't lifted yourself out of that sensation. Wherever you are, give yourself 3 slow breaths. One more here. Slowly pull the hips back, wiggle the foot back in. It's okay if it crinkles up your mat a little bit. And you're just going to step it all the way back. Feel free to shake it out here. And if it feels good to have hands on the blocks, you can do the same thing. Left foot steps out to the side, walk it all the way around until your left foot is in front of you. Hands up onto the blocks to either side, hips are square. Now pull the hips back as you walk the front foot forward and straighten out the front leg, roll up onto the heel, toes pull back, half split position, okay, or half Hanumanasana. From here, you can stay lengthening the spine and just folding over. Otherwise, wiggle the heel forward, keep the hips squared. Don't let the back hip open. Maybe you're able to sink deeper. Maybe you stay the same. Maybe this side is tighter. Give yourself 3 or 4 deep breaths. I had a right hamstring injury about a year and a half ago and had to be really, really easy and modify on that right side. So now my left side is more flexible. And that's okay because imbalances are okay. They are a reflection of our life. All the things that we do day in, day out, injuries, our activities, our work, all of it impacts our bodies. So all we're doing is getting to know how our bodies feel from what we do to them every day. And we're trying to bring a little bit more restoration in. So rather than judging or being mad at our bodies for not doing what we want them to do, just allow. One more breath. Press into the blocks, pull the hips back, wiggle the front foot back in until you can bring it back, and feel free to shake out your legs from here. Shake them out real good. And then make your way into a comfortable seated position. And from your seat, spine up nice and tall, close your eyes, lift the shoulders, pull them back, relax them down. Feel the opening in your hips, feel all the space that you have created today. Hands joined together at your heart center. Take a deep breath in. Open up your mouth and release. Now, from this position, if you would like to use this opening and continue your practice in any way, or to take final rest, now is the time. Hit pause and do just that. Otherwise, we're going to close out together here. As you scan over the body, just being grateful for all that it does, remembering not to forget the gratitude piece. If all we're focused on is the goal that we're working towards, we can often get lost and forget to just enjoy all the little amazing steps along the way. This is a practice, not a destination. Thank yourselves for taking the time to show up and be here. And thank you for allowing me to be your guide. Open up your eyes when you're ready. Thanks so much, everyone. We really targeted a lot of the areas in the hips. We got mostly everything covered. These are some nice deep hip openers. Some of them you might see during a hip opening portion of a class, but sometimes it's nice just to put them all together and feel ready for whatever our day has in store for us. So, would love to hear your feedback in the comments and looking forward to practicing with you again soon.